And I'm joined this evening by Steve Epstein. He is the host of Atlanta Baseball Talk. And Steve's been on before, so he's an old regular with us. So, Steve, welcome to the show tonight.
Hey, Gary, thanks. Happy to be here.
Well, Steve, the Atlanta Braves are they're the hot team could be of the future. They've got a great farm system, and right now the a new ballpark you're getting ready to move into. So how exciting is it down in Atlanta with the new park and everything else? And have you seen the new park at all?
So I have not seen the new park yet, but very exciting. Look, I mean, it's been 2 years of a rebuild, and at the end of 2 years, the Braves have the consensus number one farm system in baseball, and we're a couple of years away. And I think that the team will be much more competitive this year than we saw last year. They finished winning 20 out of 30 games to close out the season. They had the first or second ranked offense in the National League the last 2 months of the season. So there's a lot to look forward to for sure.
Yeah, and I don't want to put a wet blanket on it, but I just don't think they're ready to compete yet. But they are on the right track, I believe, and they're heading in that direction.
Well, I mean, I think it is not feasible to think they're even going to compete for a wild card this year because, yeah, they're not ready yet, right? They have stockpiled a tremendous amount of pitching, and that pitching is a year or two away, which is why they went out and signed Bartolo Colon and R.A. Dickey and traded for Jaime Garcia because they didn't want to keep trotting out guys who weren't ready like they did last year. The farm system, those starting pitchers need a year or two before they're going to be ready, but there's some very exciting arms coming.
And of course, we know all about the pitching here in New York with the pitching staff that the Mets have put together. So we kind of know what you're going through now. We've been through the same thing the last few years, and culminated a bit in 2015, making the World Series, and hopefully last year making the wild card. Hopefully it'll come back again next year the same way for us. But yeah, as you said, you've added some ex Mets pitches, by the way.
Oh yeah,
you added Big Sexy Bartolo Colon, and you guys should love him down there. He's terrific. He's terrific with the young guys, so they'll get a kick out of him. You guys will get a kick out of watching him hit. Always a pleasure. And R.A. Dickey, another former Met. So that influence should help the young guys a lot.
Yeah, Atlanta is very excited about Bartolo Colon for sure. Not so excited about R.A. Dickey, who has a big bushy beard that he grew, and he looks like he's 60, and had a terrible spring. So expectations are pretty low for Dickey. You guys turned Dickey into what? Syndergaard?
Syndergaard, Darno, and another lower level prospect who's making his way through the system and looks pretty good. I can't think of his name offhand, but it was Syndergaard and actually it was Darno, and Syndergaard was a throw-in.
Was he really? Right, because Darno was the number one pick, right?
Right, and he got traded for two Cy Young Award winners.
Right,
Darno.
Roy Halladay's the other one, right?
Yeah, from the Phillies to the Blue Jays, yes.
Yeah.
And then from the Blue Jays to the Mets for R.A. Dickey, because we dumped Dickey when he won the Cy Young. So that was a good move on our part. But,
absolutely.
But, it's a funny thing, with the knuckleball, he could go out there one night and have a great knuckleball and pitch a terrific game.
Well, that's the thing. And look, I am willing to believe that leaving the American League East, and also getting out of a dome should help him some. His projections are like a 4.5 ERA for this year. If he does that, I think we'll be pretty lucky. And if he can throw deep into ball games, I mean, that's part of why they got him, is to take some pressure off the bullpen. It was just last year was 5 inning start after 5 inning start. It was just killing the entire bullpen. So hopefully he will at least eat innings and have 2 out of 3 good starts.
And you've added some other position players. Of course, last year you added Matt Kemp, and but your infield now, you've got a pretty good infield, pretty young infield, except at second, third's a little bit older, but little experience there. Freddie Freeman at first, of course, is a terrific ball player, a perennial all star, and you added Brandon Phillips at second base. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Braves tried to acquire Brandon Phillips at the end of 2016, and he blocked those trades. He had a bunch, he had a no trade clause because our second baseman of the future, Ozzy Albies, is not quite ready, and so they were trying to get Phillips. That didn't work. The Braves signed ex-Pirate Sean Rodriguez, who had a great year last year and was going to be like a super utility guy. And then he and his family got in a terrible car accident in Miami at the end of 2016. And he's now going to miss the entirety of 2017. And so the Braves went knocking on the door at the Reds again, and they were able to get Brandon Phillips. And, Phillips is owed $14 million this year, and the Reds are paying 13 of it. So it is a very low risk move. And we get an exciting player, who's going to hit 280, 290, 10 or 12 home runs, and be a great double play partner with Dansby Swanson, who will, be his first full year at shortstop. We got Dansby in the Shelby Miller trade to the Diamondbacks, considered one of the most lopsided trades ever, it should be.
That was a steal.
Yeah, terrible. I mean, Shelby really had a great, great year with the Braves that year, but they turned him into Dansby, Ender Inciarte, who won the Gold Glove for us in center field last year, as well as Aaron Blair, who was a starting pitcher that made some starts last year. I mean, he's kind of uneven, but he really could turn into something. And, Dansby was a former first overall pick from Vanderbilt. He came up with about 2 months left in the season last year, and he slashed like 302, 335, 450 slugging. He was great already, and I'm very excited to see a full year of him. I mean, he should be a foundational player for the Braves for a long time.
Yeah, he's a really good-looking ball player, and again, you guys really got the steal of the century getting him. But that's the way it works sometimes. And look, what do you think it was with Shelby Miller, though? Because he pitched so well in Atlanta. Was it just the trade?
I think it was just pressure of the money. I think it was pressure of the money and pressure of the trade. Pressure of that trade, knowing what the Braves had gotten for him, it just screwed him up. I mean, they were like really great videos comparing his mechanics from his year in Atlanta to his first year in Arizona. I mean, he was finishing so low, he was scraping his knuckles on the mound. That was, and that's not an exaggeration. Like he just got all twisted up. I just think it was pressure of being part of that trade.
Wow, that's something you would think. He'd be used to the pressure by now, but he's still a fairly young guy, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he had not been with the Cardinals that long when we got him in the Jason Hayward trade. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think he's had a very good spring. I was paying attention in the first half of spring, and he was having great starts. I don't know what he did the second half, but I wouldn't be surprised if he bounces back this year.
And your third base situation, you've got a couple of young guys in the minors, but it's going to be, I forget Garcia, Adonis Garcia.
Adonis Garcia.
And he gave you a nice job. He did a nice job for you guys last year.
He really did. I mean, he was off the scrap heap from the Yankees, never intended to be the starting third baseman. But, there's a big hole at third base. And like you said, we have a couple of young guys who are not ready yet. And Garcia, he was really bad in the field at the start of last year, they actually sent him down to the minors to work him out in left field. And he came back and actually his defense improved dramatically for no good reason. And, he hit some home runs and he's quite serviceable at third base. So yeah, he is the starting third baseman, but I would assume this is his last year. I think that 2018 will be the start of some of the young guys at third.
And of course, the outfield mentioned Matt Kemp, and you still got Markakis will probably be playing in right field, and of course, the center fielder escapes my memory. I'm having this problem a lot lately. It must be old age.
So yeah, Ender Inciarte.
Well,
center.
Maybe that's why it skipped my mind.
But yeah, I mean, Matt Kemp came over. I was not a big fan of that trade, but he came over and hit very well, provided protection for Freddie, who had none in the lineup. Freddie hit better once Kemp came. I mean, Kemp in 2 months hit 12 home runs, batted like 280, on base 335. And, he came over and he was very overweight, and it showed in the outfield. It showed on the base paths. He came into spring in the best shape of his life. And, in theory, he will be better all around because of him. He really dropped like 15, 20 pounds and he should be better. And he seems very happy in Atlanta. He's admitted that he was kind of mailing it in San Diego.
Yeah.
So I think that Kemp could be quite good. Ender, the second half of the season, just went on a tear. I mean, really hit like 340, 350 for a couple of months. And like I said, won the Gold Glove. And Markakis is Markakis, steady, never misses a game. He's now 2 years removed from neck surgery. So I expect that his more typical 12 to 15 home runs will come back. So, yeah, the outfield is good to pretty good.
And your manager last year, of course, started the year as a coach and got the interim when Gonzalez was fired. How do you think he did a great job getting that team playing so well in the second half of last year? How do you think he's going to do in his first full season?
Yeah, he really did a great job. I mean, so Brian Snitker was the manager of the AAA team, and they brought him up, right? Totally a placeholder. The plan was always to hire a big name to go along with, opening the new stadium, all that stuff. Bud Black was thrown around, but he turned the team around. I mean, it was not really a major league team last year. And, which was part of Freddie Gonzalez's problem. But Snitker came in and really turned the energy around. Like I said, the team finished 3 games over 500 under Snitker. And I think that he's going to do great. The 25-man roster loves him. He knows a lot of the young kids who are ready to come up because of Gwinnett, because of the AAA. I think he's going to be great. I think the Braves made the right decision. I'm glad that they didn't just go for like a splashy PR move and try to hire a name. Sticking with him was the right idea in my mind.
Sometimes, Steve, you just gotta stick with those guys because, as you said, he knows so many young players. He had them in the minors, and it just sometimes those big names just don't work out. And I'm amazed sometimes when I keep hearing Bud Black's name thrown around, and I say, but what did he really do in San Diego? He might have had one good year there. I mean, I don't understand how they keep retreading some of these guys when they really haven't showed a penchant to winning. Now, sometimes it's they don't have the right team for them, I guess, but I don't know. I think I go along with what you said. I think the Braves made the right decision bringing him back.
Yeah, and one other savvy move they made in the coaching staff was Ron Washington. They brought Ron Washington in, ex-Rangers manager. He's going to be the third base coach. And, I mean, there were just stories all spring about how he was there at 6:30 in the morning running drills with guys that no one had even seen before, beloved by everybody. Like he's just been a great hire already. So, one, just good to have him on the staff. And two, if the Braves did not make the right decision and Snitker implodes, you do have Ron Washington on the staff as well.
Well, and of course you got a great front office, so that's part of it as well, and they're doing a good job rebuilding it. Uh, and now the great new ballpark. I mean, what was wrong though with the old ballpark? It wasn't that old, about what 20 years old or
Yeah, it
so.
was 20 years. Well, there was nothing physically wrong with the ballpark. Remember, it was Atlanta's Olympic Stadium. It was where, track and field and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff happened. It was then retrofit into the Braves Stadium. The problem was the team couldn't make enough money from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to have, like, they didn't have the parking. It did not have as nice a, executive suites and all that stuff as they would want. They saw an opportunity, one, to get a bunch of money from Cobb County to build the stadium. And they also, it's this, it's really this huge mixed use development of retail, restaurants, um, concert halls, music venues, movie theaters. It's all this stuff that Liberty Media, that owns the Braves, they own all of it. So they are getting every single dime from every single thing that happens there. And that was never going to happen in the current stadium. So there was nothing wrong with Turner Field. They just saw an opportunity to make more money. I mean, make no mistake, it is about money. That's all this is about.
And is the transportation in place? Because I know last year I spoke to a good friend of yours, Curtis Gill, and he was not happy because he lived like I think he said like 5 minutes from Turner Field, and now he's got a bit of a trip to go to the new ballpark. But one thing he discussed about was transportation and stuff. How is that in effect now? And I know they're building some hotels around the area of the park. What are they complete, or are they still in a work in progress, or what's going on now?
So the traffic, I believe, will be terrible, right? They did not extend any of Atlanta's mass transit system. We have a train system here,
Mm-hmm.
but part of the deal was no line up to the new stadium. It is in an area that is a very congested area just on a regular old Tuesday night rush hour as it is. So no, I think that the traffic's going to be terrible. They moved all of the weekday games to 7:30 starts as opposed to the 7:05 starts, just to try to help, rush hour move along a little bit more before the crush of Braves fans head up there. No, I think it's going to be problematic, and I think it will be the topic of a lot of news stories this year that the traffic is bad. And to the hotels question, I honestly don't know. I think that, so the Braves don't open until April 14th. They're on the road for a few series just to give them more time to get the stadium together. Um, and I think that, a lot of the stuff is going to be open around the ballpark, but not all of it. It will
Mm-hmm.
happen in phases.
And the park itself is pretty well finished, right?
Oh, so the park is completely done. So
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow night, so Friday the 31st, they are having their final spring training game there against the Yankees. And it'll have about 20,000 people there. They has been reported that you couldn't get tickets unless you were a season ticket holder.
Mm-hmm.
So the first action the field will see is tomorrow night. And then there's going to be like a college baseball game there April 8th, which will be another dry run for them. And then, like I said, uh, opening series April 14th against the Padres.
And are people anxious to get the? I mean, you got this beautiful new ballpark, and you're opening on the road. Are people a little annoyed at that, or do they just figure it does give them a couple more weeks?
Yeah, I think people understand it. I mean, look, there is a lot of excitement about the new stadium and a good deal of excitement about the team as well. But no, I don't think, I think folks understand why it's like this. I mean, their first, the first month, they have two series at home and six on the road. It's going to be kind of a rough month in that way, just for their record.
And most of that's in the division.
It's
I
yeah, I
think,
think we
yeah.
have two series with you guys in April. We have the Nationals, the Pirates, the Marlins, the Brewers. Yeah, I may be forgetting one, but yeah, it's mostly yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, two series with the Mets and one series with the Nationals. That's some tough sledding
Hmm.
already.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the Mets will. May doesn't get any easier. I don't. Well, because the Mets come in for four to start the month of May off, so we'll be seeing a lot of Atlanta and a lot of our old friends Bartolo Colon and hopefully R.A. Dickey. Now, the pitching matchups have been announced. It's going to be Noah Syndergaard, Jacob DeGrom, and Matt Harvey against Julio Teheran, Bartolo Colon, and Jaime Garcia. So it should be an interesting series there. I know I'm going to the second game, so I will get to see the old man Bartolo Colon. And what kind of spring has he had so far?
It was not the greatest. I think he ended up in the fives ERA wise, but he said the right things after every game. I was working on things, but I feel good. That's the important thing. I'm ready to go. All that stuff. So we'll see. I'm not worried about Cologne. Do you believe that he'll be very warmly received
Oh, I
at
believe at
City
City.
Field?
Yes, I believe so. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
he
I would think
will.
so.
Because he didn't leave on the nasty. He just got more money and he took it, and they weren't going to pay him $12 million a year, and most of the fans understand why he took it. I mean, at his age, and they understand why the Mets wouldn't pay him either because it's different. He's going to Atlanta for almost the same reasons he came to the Mets 4 years ago to work or to help along the young pitchers a little bit and to eat up innings. And that's why the
Right.
Mets brought him here. And I have to tell you again, he was a terrific influence on. I know he had some personal things that came up last year, but overall, he was terrific. Everybody loved him on the team. He was good for the Latino players. Uh, Very entertaining to watch when he bats. That's what we're probably going to miss the most about him. Never mind his pitching, but if he's on in a game, he's a wonder to watch because it doesn't look like he's throwing hard. And he essentially throws one pitch. He just changes speeds and locations with it. And when he's got his good stuff, he's hard to hit. It sounds like he had the same kind of spring he had a couple of years ago with the Mets, and when he started opening day and pitched a masterpiece against the Nationals. So um, it sounds like he'll be ready to go, and it should be interesting to see him. And yes, I do think he'll get a very warm welcome here.
Yeah.
And of course, when R.A. Dickey, if we get to, we're not going to see him in this series, but if we get to see him, I would imagine he would get a very warm welcome as well, because he was liked here a lot.
Yeah, and I hope that look, I hope that it works out great for Dickey. It has been a rough start so far.
Yeah, he's had a couple of them, couple of years. He had a rough year with Toronto, and but again, you never know. And like you said, maybe being outside, you get some wind and stuff that'll help that knuckleball dance around a little bit.
Exactly.
So after all said and done, where do you see this team finishing in this year's race?
So I think the Braves really can be a 500 team. So maybe a couple of games better. I think they're right at like 83 wins this year, and they'll be better than the Phillies, and I think that they will at least push the Marlins.
Okay, and the Marlins, of course, they're hurting because of their pitching. They're still looking. They really losing Fernandez last year was a big, big blow to that whole organization, and they're kind of on. I don't know what you'd say. They're on hold, or didn't make a deal to bring back much pitching. So we'll see where they go. But I think it's going to be an interesting year for Atlanta, as well as the Mets. And I do miss the games on TBS, though. I have to tell you, my mother, my late mother, she was a big Mets fan, of course, but she actually became a Braves fan as well, except when they played the Mets, of course. But by watching TBS, she used just loved to watch the games on TBS, and we don't get that anymore, and I kind of miss that myself.
Yeah, yeah, it's been so long, it kind of feels like a distant memory to me.
Yeah.
But no, I hear you. I certainly have fond memories of watching them on TBS. One thing about the Marlins, they did bring in Edinson Volquez
Hmm.
to close that gap. He's obviously, I mean, no one is a Fernandez, but I think that the Marlins will be competitive.
Yeah. Do you think they'll last the whole season, or will they fade in the second half?
Well, they will probably fade in the second half. That's what they do. But, Yelich was that breakout star in the WBC.
Hmm.
And, I mean, they have some pieces. Giancarlo played well in the WBC. I mean, the Marlins aren't going to be pushovers this year, I don't think.
Right. And so you see it at the National League East is really a two horse race again between the Mets and the Nationals.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the Nationals, right? Scherzer is not starting the season. And you never know about Strasburg. And I mean, look, I take terrific pleasure in any Nationals failures. And they still haven't gotten over the hump yet. And
Right.
I hope it for them again this year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was discussing this before, and with someone, and I said pretty much the same thing. With Scherzer gone, Strasburg's always a question mark, and one pitch away from an injury. He has an injury history, and they don't have a closer. So I do. They do have a good team, and they do belong. People are picking them, and I understand that. But some of them are picking in a blowout, and I just don't see it based on those facts alone. And as you say, the Braves will be more competitive. The Marlins are competitive, and I do think that the Phillies will be more competitive. Though I think they're further behind the Braves as far as the rebuilding process goes. But it's going to be a great year, and boy, I can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait either, Gary. I'm with you. It cannot come soon enough.
Well, Steve, as usual, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, and say hello to Curtis. He pinched hit for you last year, and one time did a great job, and it was a thrill talking to him. And great talking to you as always.
Yeah, great to talk to you, Gary. Thank you for having me on. And look forward to the next time.
Okay, Steve, and if you ever need me, let me know.
All right, will do.
Okay, and we'll be back after this. Thanks, Steve, so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, you got it. Really enjoy opening. And we'll be talking to you.
Okay, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, bye bye
Bye
now.
bye.